The one thing that I would say, even to myself, if I could have, talked to myself 20 years ago was, just educate yourself in finances. I mean, I'm not a formally educated individual when it comes to degrees or, that type of thing, but I became a really big, reader, studier of, how to invest.
You're listening to the Millionaires Unveiled podcast, where you'll hear the stories and interviews of everyday millionaires. We'll unveil their decisions, their strategies, and their current portfolio allocation. Now to your hosts, Clark Sheffield and Jace Mattinson.
Welcome back to another episode of the Millionaires Unveiled podcast. This is episode 232. Just wanted to begin this episode with a review we received on iTunes. It's from J.K. Rogue 123. Changes your perspective. Excellent content. It changes your perspective on what it takes to be financially successful. I've loved the variety of opinions and strategies you're exposed to from episode to episode. Hosts do very well at ensuring that the listeners get all of the important information. Appreciate that, J.K. Rogue. Once again, we'd love you to leave a review on either iTunes or Stitcher. It continues to help us grow the show and reach new millionaire interviewees. Speaking of, this week we have James. He's a former business owner and recently retired. He has a net worth of $6.2 million spread across a very diverse group of assets. It's a fantastic interview. Super excited to have this interview with James. Last week we had Jay. He's a young millionaire, net worth of just over $1 million, worked in cybersecurity, and drives a Maserati for all you aspiring car enthusiasts out there. So without any further delay, let's get into the episode with James. James, you want to just give us a little about your background and what you're up to now?
Sure. Been married for 31 years, have a 27-year-old daughter, ran a commercial roofing company, was president for 21 years and had been employed there for 34 years in the southeastern United States, and recently retired at the end of 2020.
Wow, awesome. So retiring in the middle of a pandemic, how did that all, before we get into your net worth and stuff, how did that all kind of shake out with you making that move, in the middle of the pandemic?
Well, it was something that, I had in my mind that, somewhere 2022, 2023 was probably going to be pretty close to when I wanted to walk away. Through some circumstances, my daughter's got a health condition that I guess probably sped up the process. Also, we had several good years at the company that kind of sped it up financially. And, over the summer of last year, my wife and I told her that I was thinking about speeding up my timeline, and, I had run the financials, run the budgets multiple times, and, she was concerned about, time management. I'm pretty much a scheduled person, and she was concerned about, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? How are you going to fill your time? And when I could answer those questions sufficiently for her, she kind of signed on board. And then I had told my partners and our board of directors in September. So, we could do the final quarter, as kind of winding my presidency there, the company down. And, I had some junior partners there that they were going to take the company over, become presidents, take my board seat. And then, then it was just a matter of, we had a pretty straightforward buy-sell agreement. It was just a matter of kind of, filling in what the numbers came up to be at the end of the fourth quarter. And they gave me my buyout, and they're running the company now.
Awesome. So what is your net worth today?
Today it's $6.2 million.
And how is that divided up?
I would say, let's see, my personal home is about $1 million. I've got cash on hand at probably 1.1, give or take. I've got a taxable investment account that's about $1,450,000. My wife and I's IRAs and 401ks combined are at about $1,030,000. I've got a $200,000 annuity. We've got what we call an alternative investment account. It's some gold, silver, some cryptocurrency at probably about $75,000. And then I have 8 rental properties valued at close to about $1.1 million.
Wow, so you got quite the diversity, quite a bit in your home and some cash. Is the home completely paid off then?
Yeah, I don't have any debt. I've got a $250,000 line of credit at the bank that I've drawn down maybe $7,000 or $8,000 on just to keep it open. But other than that, I'm completely debt.
And how long ago did you decide to pay off the primary residence?
We paid it off. I don't know the exact date, but I'd say it's been free and clear. We built the home about 7 years ago, so I would say it's been free and clear about 4 years.
Okay. Did you put it on a 15 or 30-year mortgage initially when you bought it?
Yeah, it was, I don't even think they offer this mortgage anymore, but it was basically an interest only for 10 years, and then whatever principal you had left amortized out for the balance of the 20 years, and we had it paid off. The running a small business, obviously, there's some ups and downs in profit distributions and so forth. So I basically took the cheapest monthly mortgage that I could get. And then, as if we had a good year or something, I may cut a check for $150,000 or something on it at a time to pay it down. And we just did that, till we got it paid off.
Interesting. So $1 million in cash. Why so much in cash?
Well, because I just have got my retained earnings out of our business, and so I'm kind of slowly dollar cost averaging it into my taxable investment account. I've purchased one rental property since I've been retired and trying to look for at least one more. I kind of want to see what Washington, the policies are. And again, just kind of slowly dollar cost averaging it in. That's way more than I would keep normally, but I got a fairly nice check for my retained earnings out of our business.
Interesting. So as you've gone on this journey, pretty well diversified at this point, cash, got the home equity, got the different investment accounts. What did this look like, say 25, 30 years ago? And how has that evolution taken place now to where you land with your allocation today?
Like most people, I started, putting stuff in an index mutual fund to start with, quite honestly, not knowing a tremendous amount about investing. I was one of those that, let's start putting some money somewhere and then we'll figure it out, which was, looking back, the completely wrong way to do it. And thank goodness it didn't cost me any more than what it did. But, as the account grew and as our income grew, I've been with 3 different financial advisors now and really like the one that we're in with now, the way he's got the diversification and all set up. But mainly had just started trying to educate myself, probably 20, 25 years ago. So again, I don't consider myself anywhere near what my financial advisor is, but I like to consider myself an educated consumer of his services.
So James, let me jump back to the retirement. What are you going to do to fill your time?
It just it's for the first time. My father had actually started our business in 1970, and he was the type that, if I had, more than 3 days off from school or summers or anything, I was always working there at the business. So it's been really nice just to have my time to whatever I decide to do that day. I'm making that decision for really the first time in my life. I've got some hobbies that I do. My wife keeps me busy with some things around the house to do. I still enjoy doing some of my real estate with the rental properties. I still have some interest in the building that the company's in. So, it keeps me busy. I'm not quite as in a hurry to get stuff done as I used to be, but I certainly stay busy.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about having 34 years with the same company, but interesting that your dad started. Was it hard to leave then?
Yes and no. There's obviously an emotional attachment there, and I tried to separate that from the purely, the financial part of, where I was and what I wanted to do. Yeah, it was, and this is the first time that somebody in our family hasn't been in the construction industry. My dad and I figured it up as close as we could get in almost 80 some odd years. Because my grandfather was actually in the same industry, working for,
wow,
as a superintendent for another company. Years and years ago. But there was a certain, an emotional attachment there to that business that my father had started. But, at the end of the day, I had to look out for, my wife, my child, my family, and, it's a stressful and somewhat risky industry, and a 50-year-old construction industry. They're out there, but that is not the norm. And I just felt it was, from a financial standpoint, we could walk away, and there was things that I could do with my money that was a lot less risky. And I just thought it was doing a disservice to my family from a financial standpoint to stay there, even though the company had done very well over the years. It was the main source of our income for forever, as long as my working career was. But, you just don't ever know when that one really bad thing might happen in the construction industry, and a large chunk of that might go away.
Interesting. So did you have a number before you wanted to retire, a net worth number, a passive income number?
It's hard to say what exactly the number was. I mean, I've always been a saver. I mean, I was putting, money away, from really almost from the first paycheck that I ever drew. I wouldn't say there was so much of a number, but, what I did when I was making the decision, I kind of looked at our lifestyle and what we owed, and I tried to get, we got all the debt off the books, so to speak. We had no mortgage. We've gotten, no debt on our rental properties. We own everything free and clear. And so at that point in time, it was just, and my wife actually still works. So what do we truly need, on a monthly basis? We can almost cover that in rental income. My wife still works, and that's not even, pulling any money off of, our cash on hand, our, investment accounts or anything like that. So I wouldn't say there was a number. We just looked at it more along the lines of, okay, what have we accumulated and what do we truly need? And, one, outweighed the other. So,
yeah. How much do you spend a year?
I would say, on a typical month, we can make it on, $7,500, $8,000 a month, just going out to eat, hobbies, that kind of thing. We do like to travel. So, when there's a nice trip that comes up, obviously that, kind of breaks the budget a little bit. But I would say, we can easily, taxes, trips, everything, $140,000 a year.
Okay. And then the home equity, you say about $1 million. How much did you buy the home for? You had it for a while, or a recent purchase?
We built it. We built it 7 years ago, actually, this month, and we intended this to be our final and forever home, which I don't think now that it actually will be. We probably did some things that added to some value for us, for some longevity of the house, that we may not get our money back on. That being said, I think I've got about $850 in it. It's probably, like I said, worth about $1 million now.
Gotcha. So let's go through the millions here, James. When did you become a millionaire? How old were you?
I don't have the exact date, but I would say probably 35, 36, somewhere in that neighborhood.
And then how soon did the others come?
Oh, that's hard to say because our income was so up and down. I mean, it's some years, combined, my wife and I, taxes, might have been $300,000. Some years it was $800,000. So I really don't know when it was, when the other ones were. I don't have a track per year.
Okay, fair enough. And then the company from your dad, you just worked there for years, and then he decided to retire?
Yeah, he retired in 96, and so he was retired but still owned some stock. And we had a private equity industry roll-up. People approach us in 99. So I had purchased some stock from him. The private equity company came in, bought the stock out from all the shareholders, which gave me a multiple of the investment that I had just made, a couple of years before. Private equity just does not run construction companies very well. And then we ended up purchasing the company back from Bank of America 18 to 24 months after they had taken it over. And I was actually named president when they purchased the company. So I actually, I became president in 99.
So what did you do when but you kept working for the company when the private equity company bought it?
Yeah, at that point in time, I went under a management contract for them, a non-compete clause, the whole thing with them. And they, instead of being just a vice president, project manager, they put me in as president at that point in time. And then, I continued being president when we purchased the company back from Bank of America.
So James, you're at 6.2 million here. Do people in your family or friends, do they know that?
My daughter does, and she's actually getting married in September to a really good guy that we're looking forward to having him part of the family. He knows where we're at because the one thing my parents and her parents, either one did, and again, I'm assuming it's a generational thing. At that age, they're very tight with their money as far as, it's just not talked about with the family. I don't even know where my parents bank at. But with our daughter and with her fiance, I just think that's doing a disservice to them for them not to know. Because again, you never know. I mean, if something was to happen to my wife and I tomorrow, I want them to, at least from a financial standpoint, that to be as easy of a transition through a difficult time as it could be. So they're both very well versed on what we have and where it's at. Now, as far as friends and so forth, no, I mean, I don't consider us, we don't live a tremendously lavish lifestyle more so than any of our other friends that we hang out with. I mean, they know that obviously I've done something right to retire at 54, but as far as actual numbers or whatever, they don't have any idea.
So in talking to your daughter, what's your take on generational wealth?
I want to be able to leave as much as I can to her. I would certainly rather go to her than the government or whatever. But, we also have told her that, our intention is, to enjoy what we've worked all of our lives accumulating. We provided her a very good education. She's in the process of writing her dissertation for her doctorate degree, and she has no student loan debt. She's certainly going to be able to make a very nice living for her. Her fiance's got a master's degree, very hard worker. They're both two bright individuals. They can make their own. But that being said, I do want to leave them whatever's left, and we intend to be, good stewards of what we've been blessed with. But we all also do intend to enjoy it. So.
Is there anything in particular that you like to indulge on?
We both like to travel. We're looking forward to, once the pandemic's completely, over with, whatever that looks like, is, to get back and start traveling. We've been fortunate enough, I think, last time 33 or 34 different countries, and a lot of that we had taken our daughter on when she was younger. And but we're looking forward to traveling on our own, and that's probably the one thing that I truly don't mind spending money on, and I don't really pinch pennies on is our travel. We really enjoy those experiences. So when we're able to get back doing that, I'm sure that there'll be some money to go towards that.
What does that look like when you travel? I mean, are you staying in 5-star resorts and spending whatever you kind of feel like on food and entertainment, or flying first class? What does that look like for you traveling as somebody who's worth $6+ million?
Yeah, if our rule of thumb is if it's more than 3 hours on the plane, we try to travel first class, and we do like a nice hotel. We try to look at it as this may truly be the only time we're in this place, and if that means we get a private tour or first class, because that makes us a little more refreshed when we get there, and a nice meal and that type of stuff. Yeah, we will indulge ourselves on that, and if that means we need to cut back in some other areas before or after the trip, we will. But the travel is the one thing that we truly, for the most part, we don't really pay attention to what it costs. My wife is, she's good with getting a bang for our buck, but we don't mind throwing a few dollars at a travel on a nice trip. When did you decide to start flying first class? Travel was something growing up my family never really did, and hers didn't either. And quite honestly, as bad as I hate to admit it, I was petrified of actually flying. I had done very little of it when we had got married, and my wife, I think my daughter was 5 or 6 years old, and she had decided that she wanted to take a Mediterranean cruise, and I kind of balked at it and didn't really want to do it. And at that point in time, other than Florida and stuff for a summer trip with my family growing up, and with her, that's about all the traveling I had done. And I came home one day, and she basically said, look, we've booked it. We would love for you to come, but it wasn't necessary whether I did or not. They were going. So I decided that I figured I better get on board, and they booked another plane ticket. we went to the Mediterranean. So, and I'm glad you put it that way, because like I said, it's really become something that we're both very passionate about. And on my own, I would have I would have never done it. And I just think the experiences you get, and it just, I think, quite honestly, it just makes you a better, more well-rounded person. Travel does. It makes you more understanding of different peoples and cultures, and I've really enjoyed it. And I'll get over my fear of flying for that. We both have thoroughly enjoyed our trips.
Is there a place that you've been that you would say is your favorite or that you want to return to?
Yeah, we really love Paris and France in general. We took a really nice trip to Thailand when my daughter was in high school. That was a lot of fun. We took a northern European cruise, and we actually spent, on that trip, we were actually able to spend 3 days in St. Petersburg, Russia, and it was just a fascinating city. We really liked it. I would love to do that entire trip over again one day. But, there's just so many cool places to go. I'm sure we'll redo some of them here and there. And we've been to Paris 3 or 4 times, but, it always seems to be, well, we haven't been here and let's try it instead kind of thing. So.
Yeah, totally. So, James, are you planning on investing any more money going forward, or is this basically, hey, I've retired, I'm going to continue to withdraw from my rentals and my portfolio over time and kind of ride off into the sunset as you spend the next 30, 40 plus years of your life?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't have the income coming in that we did while I was working, but, the cash that we have on hand, we're going to disperse the vast majority of that into either, maybe another rental property. We're going to put it, into either some of the blue chip stocks that we own or mutual funds or ETFs in our taxable account. There may be a reshuffling of the assets that we have now and getting that cash down. But yeah, right now, instead of, accumulators, we're kind of using what we have now instead of, accumulating, with the hopes that, the growth of the overall portfolio is more obviously than what we're spending. I believe that, with our lifestyle and what we do, I would hope my net worth would be, well beyond the 6.2 whenever, our estate passes on to our daughter.
Yeah, good for you. As much as you're comfortable sharing here, what's been your range of household income since you started working?
Boy, when I started in 87, that was a very low range when I started. I think I started there at the company making $10 an hour. I think it was, about $500 a week was what I was making in 87 when they first started working full time. And again, the ranges vary greatly, but I think the best year combined that we ever had with my income and my wife's income was about $800,000.
And then what were you making when you left the company?
Let's see. I guess guaranteed income, I was at about $250,000. We had always kind of kept our salaries low, but the balance of the money, or the bulk of it rather, came in through, profitability and, just shareholder distributions, depending on how the company did that year.
Yeah. So you're making $250 salary. Let's say another, I don't know what it was, another 100, whatever. Maybe it's more, maybe it's 300. I don't know. Whatever you're pulling out of profits. Did you say, gee, if I could work one more year, that's another 300, 400, 500 grand?
Well, there's always, I'm a big what if kind of guy, and let's run just a possible scenario.
Right.
And I think I actually did that over the summer while, I was running this through. But, it really came down to a point of, I really started to notice that things that, were just normal, everyday problems that you have running a business, whether it's construction or whatever, things that would just be, okay, yeah, it's on my desk, let's handle it and move it off, was beginning to really bother me. Stuff that just really shouldn't have. And I think I was doing a disservice to myself, to my family, and, to my company and to my partners, because I just wasn't, just handling the day-to-day minutia that you have to handle doing that. And that's really was the deciding factor. I'm just not doing anybody any good at that point in time, or as good as I think the company needs to be run. And I was coming home a lot more frustrated and irritated from a day's work, with my wife than I should have been. And the same stuff that was rolling off my back 10 years ago just was not rolling off my back. And it was just one of those things. it's very hard to put into words, but when it's time, you just know, and it was time.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. No, it makes a difference. You don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So your allocation here, you're pretty split. I mean, you got about 2.5 or so, a little over 2 million in the market, $1 million in home equity, about $1 million in real estate, $1 million in cash. How did that allocation come to be? Is that something you went after, or did it just kind of happen here?
The allocation, the breakdown in the accounts is something that happened through, consulting with my financial advisor, whether it's bonds or ETFs or mutual funds or individual stocks. The rental properties, and I also own part of a commercial building there that my former company occupies too. And I've probably got about $250,000 equity in that. And it's I had a friend of mine that had invested in rental properties, and he actually does some property management. And about 5 or 6 years ago, he had a deal. Some off-market rental properties came up, and he, kind of talked me into it, that it would be a good way to diversify. And I talked with my accountant, and he kind of agreed with it, and it was a really good deal. And he assured me that, look, if you buy them, and I'll manage them for you if you want me to, and if you don't like them, he was going to purchase them back from me, and get rid of them. So it was really kind of a no-lose deal, and they really turned out to be great investments. So, and I ended up selling one of those original ones and buying some other ones. And, we flipped a couple of properties together over the last 5 or 6 years. But I just thought it was a real good way to diversify. And, and I didn't have a pension or a 401k at my company to kind of draw on from when it retired. And so I kind of rental properties and the commercial building income that I have is I just kind of built my own pension. It's there's X number of dollars coming in. I don't have to worry too much about market fluctuations, and those checks show up at the first of the month like clockwork. So
wow. And so 9 rental homes, are they all in the same area as you?
It's actually 8 in one commercial building, but yeah, I would say that I can drive to all of them in no more than 20-25 minutes.
And you don't manage them, right?
No, that buddy of mine.
That friend of yours does. Okay. And they're all paid off?
Yeah, there's other than the commercial building has about an $80,000 note on it, and the only reason it's not paid off is because the other partners in the building, everything's cross collateralized, so I didn't pay my portion off. But all of my individual rental properties, those 8 rental homes, they're all paid off.
Okay, wow. So that's what is that then? $100,000 homes, give or take?
Yeah, I would say they probably average, 110 to 125, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Okay. And so what's your net cash flow from those a month?
After I pay his management fees, not counting, maintenance or property taxes, I get about $7,300 a month.
Wow, that's great. So that almost covers your living expenses if you were saying 8 or 9.
Yes, pretty close. Yeah, like I said, between that right now and my wife's salary, we're actually still able to save a little bit of money every month. So
yeah. So you're thinking about buying more, or is 9 real estate properties enough for you?
No, again, I'm sitting on quite a bit of cash if I could find the right deal, but right now finding the right deal is very, very difficult to come by. And that's why I'm kind of holding a little bit of cash back in the assumption that maybe, the next 12, 18 months, the market might soften a little bit. I would like to get, again, if the right deal come along, 9, maybe even 10 rental houses.
So I know you have more cash now, obviously, because of the sale of the business. We've talked about that. But throughout your life and as you've invested, how have you managed excess cash? Is it something you've tried to keep to a minimum or a certain balance and you've put it in the market? Or, I think the question is for a lot of people right now is where the market's at, and not being able to find a good real estate deal is, what do I do with this cash? So throughout your life, when you had excess cash, did you invest it right away, or were you okay with holding cash and waiting for an opportunity?
Really, during my working career, if there was excess cash there, now I've always held about 12 months worth of living expenses in a money market account, and I think most people would tell you, 3 to 6 months, but I've always held 12. But I've pretty much just, I've looked at anything that I put in the market was a long-term investment. And didn't really try to time the market. If I had it, I put it in there because, hey, over the course of 5, 10, 15, 20 years, trying to time the market, I didn't think I was smart enough to do that. And I just don't think that's the right way to do it. If you've got that kind of time horizon, just dump it in and let the market do what the market's going to do. Now, and I'm not really trying to time the market now. I'm looking at more of, what is Washington going to do, and just trying to be prudent with just, dollar cost averaging a little bit in along the way. My financial advisor and I kind of sat down with, we're trying to get it back to what I consider a normal cash level, which is about a year's worth of living expenses over about the next 18 months is what we're looking at.
James, what role has your wife played in this journey in accumulating this net worth?
She's like me. She's always worked, always, brought home a nice salary. And she does have a 401k at where she works, and she's working through the end of the year. And then the company she's working for is actually in the process of shutting down. So, but yeah, I've truly looked at her as a partner through all of this. I've learned the hard way to definitely bounce across her any ideas and, hey, what do you think about getting into rental property? And, what do you think about buying this house? And where do you think we should put money? But yeah, we look at that as a partnership, as far as handling the finances here. I may do the nuts and bolts of it and the daily routines of whatever needs to be done, but, we don't make any decisions without running it by each other.
Yeah, totally. What are you doing about health insurance? I know that's common for guests on our show and listeners about those that retire before, a traditional age. What do you do about health insurance and how do you go about it? I'm just curious what your take on it and what you're doing.
Well, right now we're actually still getting health insurance through the company that she's working for, so it's not an issue now. But after the end of the year, we're going to have to look to whether that's getting on the exchange and getting a personal policy or just going out on our own and whatever we need to do. But yeah, that is a bridge that we're going to have to cross at the end of the year. But right now, it's not an issue because I've never drawn the health insurance from my company. I always drew it off of hers. She actually had a better plan where she worked.
Is there anything that worries you going forward, whether it be inflation or some other outside risk to your plan or retirement plan or portfolio?
Yeah, financially, I've always been the worrier of the two as far as our household, and the way Washington is spending money now. I think inflation is something that's definitely going to be on the horizon. Raising corporate taxes is normally not real great for the stock market, and that's something that, trying to keep an eye on. But, at the end of the day, it's just, I think Warren Buffett says, you just don't bet against America. Capitalism always finds a way, and, putting money in, good, solid blue chip type companies and, mutual funds and ETFs. I just think that's the right approach to do it. And then too, we are somewhat diversified with real estate and so forth. And I think through the diversity that we have, I'm sure we'll be fine.
James, you're holding up pretty strong here because we just keep rapid firing questions at you. All different sorts of stuff here.
I made a few notes. Hopefully it's kind of what you're looking for anyway.
No, it's great. It's been a great interview. I got a couple more for you. So, you're young 50s, net worth over $6 million. Is that more than you thought you would have? Did you have a goal of some number?
I was just hoping I could put food on the table and feed the family. I've got a couple of years of college, and the university I went to somewhere in my sophomore year, we both decided it was in our best interest to part company. And I went to work for my father. And, I never in my wildest imagination thought that, I could retire at this age. But my father, when I saw him do it, there in, I believe it was 96 when he retired. Okay, yeah, this is an attainable goal, because he retired when he was 56, and and I thought, well, I may not get there, but I certainly am going to try, because if he was able to do it, I felt like I owed it to my family to at least give it as good a shot at it as I could. So, but yeah, we're very fortunate, very blessed that we were able to. Not only to retire early and to provide a lifestyle that, quite honestly, when I first started working was probably beyond my wildest imagination, but we were also able to get my daughter through private school and all the way through a doctorate degree with no student loan debts.
Amazing. Amazing.
So
what did you study? Did you go to college?
Yeah, I studied economics, but I did not get a degree.
Okay. So as you look back on this whole journey and this whole conversation we've just had and your net worth, is there a couple things, 1, 2, 3 things that you could point to and say, hey, that's where I'm at? Is it your work ethic? Was it your drive? Was it taking risks with a smaller company and real estate? I mean, what's really driven this here?
I guess the two things that I always felt that I was good at was recognizing an opportunity and, being smart enough to, take that opportunity, whether that was, buying into, our company at the right time, whether that was, with the rental properties or whatever. I always thought I had a knack for seeing that as a good thing. And I was also smart enough just to surround myself with some really good people, whether it was employees or partners at my former company, or, I've got a great financial advisor now. The guy that's helped me through with the rental properties is a great guy, and he treats my properties as probably better than he treats his own. So, surrounding myself with good folks and letting them do what they do.
Yeah, nice. So let's wrap it up here with some rapid fire questions and then general advice. What's been the most expensive car you ever purchased?
My wife drives a Porsche Cayenne 75 for it when it was new.
Okay. How many hours a week do you watch TV?
Oh, wow. I would say 4 or 5, maybe.
Okay. How many books a year do you read?
12 to 15.
Okay. Any podcasts or websites, anything you recommend?
Yours is a great one. I also like, let me pull my phone up right quick. I'll tell you a couple of ones I've got on there. The Wes Moss Retire Sooner. I enjoy that one. And also the Money Guy podcast. I enjoy that one.
Okay. Nice. We've had them on the show. What does it mean to be happy or fulfilled to you? And has that changed throughout your life?
Yeah, it really has. I mean, before it was, when you're younger, I think, you look at, maybe things and yourself a little more. But now, when, my daughter calls up, and matter of fact, this week, she just passed her comprehensive exams, and hearing her excitement of getting past that hurdle in her doctorate degree and watching her accomplish things and, seeing my wife healthy and happy, that's the important stuff nowadays.
Relationships, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, just in closing, James, any last words? I mean, any mistakes you made or overall general advice to somebody who's just starting out here?
Yeah, the one thing that I would say, even to myself, if I could have, talked to myself 20 years ago, was, just educate yourself in finances. I mean, I'm not a formally educated individual when it comes to degrees or, that type of thing, but I became a really big, reader, studier of, how to invest. And not that I felt like I wanted to do it on my own. I've always liked to have a financial advisor, but I wanted to be an educated consumer of the product that he was selling to me. So, I mean, at the end of the day, he is an advisor. And the one thing I had to learn the hard way, the final decision of what an advisor does with your money is yours. And if it doesn't go right, he may have been the one to shift the money around, but the final say-so is yours, and you need to educate yourself and to make sure that, he is doing what, at the end of the day, what you want him to do, whether that's truly his advice or not.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for asking all of our questions here. So awesome story, awesome interview, net worth of 6.2. Thanks again, James.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, James. That was awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Millionaires Unveiled podcast with Clark Sheffield and Chase Mattinson. For more stories, investment opportunities, and information, check out our website at millionairesunveiled.com. See you next time when you'll hear from another everyday millionaire.